Hi, everyone. I'm Charlene Shirk, your host of Advertising Champions, where we speak to some of the most innovative thinkers in the advertising space. And we're excited to have on our panel today Albert Griesmayr with Scribando and Novelify, and Rob Davis with Novus. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on Advertising Champions.
It's great to be here.
So, Albert, let's start with you. What are you doing over there at Scribando and Novelify?
Yes, thanks for having me, Charlene. So what we are doing is to help authors to make their book successful. And we are a digital marketing agency in the publishing space with a big focus on Amazon.
All right. And Rob, let's talk with you. Novus, what do you do over there?
So we're a media planning and buying agency, and we specialize in really locally targeted media.
Talk to me a little bit more, Rob. Why so much local? You know, we've got Albert, who's joining us all the way from Vienna, Austria, and you're in Illinois, and we're talking about like really hyper local. But Albert, I'm sure if he's going to push out a book, wants someone in Illinois to purchase it.
Yeah, exactly. We, coming out of COVID in particular, we saw a huge increase in our business. So a lot of marketers, we have a client, one of our clients is a restaurant chain, and their restaurants were closed in some cities and they were open in other cities, or even kind of one side of the street versus the other side of the street. And so that kind of hyper local marketing, the ability to change your advertising at a very local level within states or within cities has become really, really important.
And when you're doing a hyper local, I would think you need to take in they've got a certain climate a certain time of year. Like I'm seeing people already lady friends are already bragging about their boots, and we're like still 90 degrees here in Florida. So how do you really customize that when you're talking about local? Do you take all of those things into account?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the tools we created is called Depth Finder, and it's literally about going deep into very local areas, neighborhoods, really. And, depending on different ethnography, different demographics, different media behaviors, to your point, different seasonality and weather patterns. And we've got about 50,000 data points we look at a zip code level to really understand what's the best way to advertise and what channels to advertise in to get a marketer's message out.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk to you, Albert. I mean, I would think a lot of those factors also play in when you're trying to market a book, particularly to a demographic.
Right. I mean, what Rob says, it makes total sense to me. It's about, in my business, it's less about localization, but you need attention to detail and you need to specialize in a very specific field. And for us, it's running Amazon ads. And here you also need to have very concrete high-end strategies. So I can relate a lot to what Rob said here.
Because if you're looking for a woman, say, who's 50 plus, who likes, romance, you don't care if she lives in Illinois or you don't care if she lives in Austria. You want to know that she wants to buy your book.
Yeah, that's right. And also, with Amazon ads, you cannot really target well localized. So the advertising game is different there. So you're focusing on targeting similar books a specific reader wants to read. So you're targeting for keywords, you're targeting categories. So it's a different game, but you need to be very specific and understand, who you want to reach.
And let me talk to you, both of you, about challenges within your space. Albert, with publishing, there's been so much going on about, lack of supply, lack of paper, books being pushed back that were supposed to have a holiday release now being pushed back. That's in addition, I would think, to some of your marketing challenges that you just have on a day-to-day basis. So talk to us about maybe what's keeping you up at night in your world.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest challenges is certainly increasing competition. And, the competition came through self-publishing, of course. And COVID, certainly brought another wave of self-publishers into the market. So it's a competitive space, and that certainly keeps me awake. The good thing is, though, that by being on top of the game and being creative and, being focused on the data, you are able, to have success in this market. And so it's also very satisfying to be able to achieve good results in a competitive field.
What do your authors have to do now, or what do you have to do now to promote them that maybe you didn't have to do several years back?
Yeah, one of the most important things is certainly making sure that the Amazon listings are in a very good shape. So you need to make sure that the book description is top notch, that there is A+ content on it, that the reviews are managed properly, because you need all those things in the end for being successful with the ads in the end, although we are using certainly very advanced tactics and strategies here.
And Rob, let's switch gears, go over to you now. And you're focusing, and it's everything, all things are local for you. What's the challenges that you face in that philosophy?
Well, one of the challenges is data. Albert just mentioned data, and so it's very similar in our field, that it's really the currency of the industry. Years ago was who's the biggest, that you have the most clout to get low rates in media. And while there's still an element of that, it's really about who has the best data and who uses the data in the best way. And so constantly scouring and cleansing and determining what's the appropriate cost-benefit ratio in data is really kind of the name of the game now.
And let me ask you this, what are you doing now that you weren't necessarily doing several years ago? And because COVID seemed to change everything for everybody. Everybody's like, that didn't work anymore. Now we've got to do this.
Yeah, one of the biggest things is, there's been a big trend for years in terms of one-to-one marketing, and we do that, and that's very important. But we find a lot of times there's a data cost associated with that is higher than the ROI would indicate. And so we have a tool we call a decoder that we literally decode at a zip code level, which are the priority prospects to focus in on. And we find that paying for that data once saves on buying on a per impression basis, like a lot of digital media is sold. And so it's a unique approach that has saved our clients a lot of money, that is different in the last couple of years we've started doing.
And then let me ask you this, with data and new privacy rules and cookies going away, how has that impacted the way you do business, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, quite literally, it doesn't, because of that strategy I just mentioned. It's really interesting. Cookies, we kind of dodge the whole cookie issue in most cases, because we pre-select audiences just based on the notion of birds of a feather flock together. We're able to kind of pinpoint, use the example earlier of a 50-plus woman, or if it's a particular demographic group, or high income versus low income. We're able to do that without having to pay extra data costs in the associated cookies. So it's kind of a different approach. Doesn't always work exactly, but it largely allows us to sidestep the whole cookie debate.
All right. Well, we are in our lightning round, gentlemen, where I am going to ask you, what is your best tip that you would give out in your space? Albert, we'll start with you.
Yeah, my best tip is certainly to focus on automation.
Oh, that was 5 seconds or less. Okay, Rob, your best tip in your space.
I would say, I'm going to talk about it in terms of career in general, and I always tell folks it's never too early to define your brand. So figure out what makes you different within an organization at the very early stages of your career, and then they can help stand out and help shape your path.
All right, that's a great takeaway. I appreciate that. Great perspective on that question. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today, Advertising Champions. We really appreciate you making the time to share your insight with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's been our pleasure. And if you'd like to learn more about what Albert's doing at Scribando, and if you're a wannabe author, or if you're really looking to focus your advertising efforts in your own backyard, see what Rob's doing over there at Novus, you can start by going to dailyadbrief.com. Well, I'm your host, Charlene Shirk. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Advertising Champions, and we look forward to learning something new with you next time.
Simplify presents Addressable CTV, combining the power of TV with the targeting and attribution of digital. Simplify's addressable CTV delivers massive reach with the ability to scale without sacrificing precision. TV buyers can generate incremental reach with household-level targeting, frequency controls, reporting, and insights. To learn more about Simplify's addressable CTV and what it can do for your clients, visit simply.fi.